Sorry.
Yeah. So we're now arriving in Alexander Park Estate, and as I say, 15 years ago, this estate would have been seen as experiencing a lot of crime and some gun and gang activity. A colleague of mine, Councillor Nangle, who's now moved on, I guess 15 years ago, 20 years ago, brought in a lot of then Labour government investment into the area and transformed all the houses, huge investment, and made sure that there were lots of gardens and including this development here, which is known as the Millennium Green in Moss Side. And in many ways, if you were to go down south and see some of the towns in Kent or in some of the posher parts of the southeast, you would find village greens as being a key feature of those quite posh of those quite posh areas. And the intention here was to try and recreate that in Moss Side. And by and large, it's been quite successful. This is now a focal point of the Alexandra Park community. On Bank Holiday Monday, there'll be a big fun day here, and these houses, as it were, overlook what is a very pleasant outlook in the heart of Moss Side. Probably not what you expect. You know, if I said Moss Side to you, this is it. This is it. This is the image of Moss Side, which is as true as any other image that people have.
It is. I haven't seen it before.
And it's
rural.
rural.
That's what I've been complaining about. Coming from the north, there's no greenery, but I was wrong.
Well,
it is.
This is very nice, and it's well used, during holidays and weekends.
So tell me about.
Are you okay staying in the car? You all right here?
Yeah. No wind. I'm very happy.
Fine, okay.
If there's nothing particular you would like to show me.
No, we can drive around a bit further on, but.
How was it living here during the gang years then? You said at one point that as long as you didn't involve yourself, it wasn't
true. But people were apprehensive in this area. The housing had got quite bad. There was a lot of, this is 15-20 years ago, there was quite a lot of crime. So those were difficult days. I think what this shows is, I think this is a good example of where a multi-million-pound investment into an area has actually paid off in the longer term. So often you see big regeneration programs which look fantastic, and for 5-10 years are fantastic. This has lasted now for 20 years, and these houses were originally mainly council houses. All that changed, and they're now mainly owned by social landlords, City South Manchester, for example, or Moss Care, or Arawak Housing, and they're just about embarking, or have embarked, on yet another renewal of these houses at this time. So the original investment was effective, and now the new landlords are further investing in the area, both in terms of the fabric and the environment. And by and large, people feel this is a good place to live. It's a very popular estate. There's a long waiting list, and that's Moss Side. And 10 years ago, there wouldn't have been a waiting list because people would have said, "Don't want to live there." Now people are saying, "Oh, this is rather nice," as you can see.
Yes, it's really nice. Do you have any worries for the future if so to say, the South doesn't understand that the sharing of funds has to be a bit? Do you fear that it could go back into a 1981 riot even?
I think the nature of the community and the feeling that we've been through all that, and we've worked hard to get beyond that, and there's a feeling, I think there was a feeling that despite whatever happens, the community will not allow that to happen again as far as it can. So I think that's real progress, really. I think also we've given quite a lot of thought to what opportunities we're offering to some of our young people, and maybe they didn't experience that 10, 15 years ago. So I'm hoping that the new generation of young people and youth growing up here feel they have more hope than their predecessors had. So for all those kinds of reasons, I'm hoping that we will be able to retain the kind of spirit of the good community spirit which exists here, even though people are struggling in terms of their own individual budgets and lifestyles. I think the government could help more and should help more. I would very much hope that we get a Labour government, because I then think that there will be that spirit of wanting to support communities, recognising the economy is not going to be easy, but still recognising the need for fairness and equality around the country, more than this government does. But I remain optimistic. I think we need to be optimistic because we owe it to ourselves and to our community to work together. Shall I just try one more location?
Yeah.
Slightly different.
So Englishness now. Then, if I ask you, because what is it for you?
Oh, you're asking a difficult question. Englishness. Well, it's an interesting concept, isn't it? I suppose in many ways I think that Moss Side sort of sums up a degree of Englishness which is quite challenging to the norm. It's about diversity. It's about difference. It's about sharing. Hiya. It's about sharing, sharing resources. It's about sharing cultures. That to me is what I would like Englishness to be about. I think the danger is that there is a concept of Englishness which is isolationist, which is defensive, which I suppose UKIP or the BNP. I regard those as two political parties quite close to each other. UKIP and the BNP would both describe Englishness in a very different way, and to me a very defensive, inward-looking way. But to me, driving around here, this to me is England. This is a good place to live. There are important values about democracy, which are part of our history, and about openness to change and development. And this area, to me, is all about that.
Yeah,
I may sound a bit. I may sound a bit idealistic in that, but that I think is the aspiration. Just down there is probably the oldest building in Moss Side. It's the former Great Western Pub.
Is that the famous Great Western Pub?
Yes, it's open occasionally. It's not quite clear how regularly it's open now, but as a building, it is pretty amazing. You want to drive past?
Yes, this is.
It's a wonderful building.
It is.
Inside, it's absolutely enormous.
Well, what defines a Moss Sider then? Because your description of the Englishness is great. Yeah.
I'll say one more thing about this. So, this is the oldest. I believe it's true. The oldest building in Moss Side, and here in the courtyard, apparently, although I haven't seen them, I think these were the stables for the original dray carts, which used to.
Dray carts.
Dray carts were carts which carried the kegs of beer. Obviously horse driven, and I believe that the stables are still there. So that's the Big Western. You were asking me about what makes a Moss Side.
Yeah,
makes a Moss Cider.
You defined Englishness, as I think anyone like you and me who like integration in a good way.
Yes.
And perfect. But what about Moss Siders then?
Yeah.
Who is the Moss Cider, the good and bad with?
Just let me stop here so I can think about that. Sorry. Moss Care van, one of our social landlords, very committed organisation. There are two large social landlords, Moss Care and City South Manchester, and they both brought into this new way of looking at housing, using social landlords rather than the council doing it, running housing itself. And I think we benefited from their resources and their commitment. Certainly in Moss Side we have. But you're asking about what makes a Moss Cider. Well, I guess there are lots of views about that. I mean, Moss Cider, for instance, Moss, that lady is the person who runs the adventure playground just down the road. A very committed person. A moss cider. So, if you use the term moss cider, one definition is a community of people who grow things, and there's a moss cider brand developing which grows its own apples, and crushes anyone's apples to make into cider, and gives those people, you know, the cider back. So that's interesting. It's quite entrepreneurial. It's about growing things and using food and horticulture as a way of bringing people together. And that's a very striking part of being a moss cider. Lots of people are getting involved with that, transforming their own. Not everyone has gardens. They do here, but in the old moss side they don't. Transforming back alleyways into little areas of greenery. So there is that kind of part of being a moss cider. I think also being a moss cider is about choosing to live in a place which has a strong history of welcoming new arrivals. I think that's a part of being a moss cider, and getting used to difference, and learning to appreciate difference. Doesn't always come easy to us. Me as much as anybody else, you know, tends to you know, be resistant to. Let's move out of the way. I don't want to obstruct our street cleansing teams.
They probably think we're out filming them.
Yeah, they might do. Very important people. One of the most important teams that the council has, and they, by and large, do a good job for us.
They are the ones who has asked me twice if what am I doing? Am I filming for the council?
Well, they would worry about, because the environment is, you know, is such an important issue for all of us, of course, you know, and how well are we looking after it? That I think that sometimes the actual gangs of guys who do the frontline work feel a bit unsupported, actually. I think by and large, moss side people really value the work done by the street cleansing teams, and are aware that there just isn't enough money for them to do their job as well as they would like to. We're just driving in here again to see another example of community cohesion. And even this is nice. This is Quinney Crescent, and there has been discussion in the past about whether the council ought to build on this land, because, you know, there's Princess Road, the main thoroughfare, and there's a massive green sweep all through Moss Side. It's quite valuable land, and there has been talk about should we develop it and use it, and we've said no. We think that because Moss Side is generally a fairly intensive sort of housing area, we need, as you've said, we need that bit of breathing space, and people like this, you know, like this. The other threat to the community was, I guess 30 years ago, when there was a proposal from the council before my time to transform Princess Parkway into 2 5-lane highways, north and south, in order to speed up by a few minutes the commuting time of people going from the city centre down south, down to the south of Manchester. And local people took an active role in saying, no, that's not right. This is going through our community. The plan was to have no way of crossing it at surface level, but to have bridges across at various points. So it would have divided the whole community. And that was a campaign called PRAM, Princess Road Action Movement. My wife was very involved with it, and that effectively persuaded the council to drop those plans and simply to maintain it as it is, which is a two lane